Okay, good morning and welcome to online class on forensic medicine from Prakash Institute of Medical Science and Research. So today is a very important class. In fact, today's class you'll be actually carrying it for your life. And if you pay attention, this class itself will give you enough of information to handle autopsy. Though this is only part 1, we'll go to part 2 later. Let us see hows and what's of autopsy and try to concentrate because it is a skill based also. So though we are taking a lecture here, try to take the knowledge. I'll try to be as clear as possible. Okay, and it is very interesting class this one. Okay, I try to do my best to bring you the best of PPT, which that I could bring you. Let us go ahead. It is on medical legal autopsy, but we will start off with what autopsy, is all about, which also involves the pathology department or the psychiatry department and all that. So let us see. We'll start it. When we'll start, you'll come to know. But we'll be actually focusing on medical legal autopsy. So, okay. Now this class when I'm taking, what you're going to learn. Let us see what you're going to learn. At the end of this session on autopsy, you as a student should be able to define autopsy. Now definition, as you know, I may ask you in examination, internal examination. Enumerate the aims and objectives of the autopsy. Now this is important because you must know when you're conducting autopsy, what you will be looking for. Okay. Next, define and discuss types of autopsy. Okay, so there are different types of autopsy. You'll come to know now. Focus on what are the different types of autopsy because you may be questioned. Okay, what kind of autopsy you have done? So you must be able to answer that. Describe and discuss autopsy procedures, techniques, and of course, after doing the autopsy, you have to make a report. Now, this is a report and not a certificate. Okay, when you do autopsy and you make, you document that one, it is a report. I told you in previous classes what is the difference between report and certificate. This report will carry your opinion. Okay, after doing the autopsy, what opinion you have to lay it down. Describe and discuss autopsy procedures, techniques, and reporting. Okay. Describe the procedure of preserving and dispatch of viscera for chemical analysis. So when you're doing autopsy, that is the last opportunity, almost the last opportunity, unless and until you are doing the autopsy again. But this is usually the last opportunity for you to pick up the evidence, collect the evidence, okay, and send it for different types of analysis like chemical analysis, histopathic. All are in pieces and shreds, okay, and all that. So you might be getting alarmed of how to conduct the autopsy. So we'll also see, okay, how to even make a report on those kind of mutilated or fragmented bodies and bundle of bones. Okay. Now you know what you are going to learn. Now let us focus on the learning itself. There is an overview of autopsy work. Now this overview I'm going to show you as a video. Okay, concentrate on the video. You'll get a sense of what postmortem examination is all about. Sandeep? Just a minute.
तो स्वप्नील हो स्वप्नील व्हिडिओ चालू करा व्हिडिओ चालू कर की
ऐसा नहीं या कोई कर सकते हैं मैं बहुत से लोग हैं बोला मुझे क्लास करते हैं आई वांट okay I'm bringing in aja video start करने I'm bringing a video. Concentrate on the video. You'll know a lot. Before we start this, you'll have a fair idea about it.
minimize the resolution and the one that display like this problem क्या करना
Like class
तभी लगता है एपिसोड देखिए तो ये भी चलना फ्री चैट पॉइंट तो लगता था हां इसको मालूम नहीं उसको लगा मैं तेरा को ना अच्छा लगा extension
Brain stuff, I have a deeply concerning question for you. First of all, a word of warning for our viewers. If you are squeamish, you might want to watch a less gross episode.
अभी स्क्रीन से नहीं खुली दिख रहा है ये ऑडियो में बंद किया
इसको रिजल्ट देता हूं
सब फुल स्क्रीन के साथ
I just said this is my
नहीं मैं बोला डेस्कटॉप में
I just never tried.
ऐसे नहीं करते बोले इसने बंद किया सर शेयरिंग शेयरिंग आप हां सेंसिटिव
हो गया
Brain stuff, I have a deeply concerning question for you today. What happens when I
लाइव स्ट्रीम और ऑडियो
Brain stuff, I have a deeply concerning question for you today. What happens when I die? And I don't mean like, will I go to heaven or who gets all my group comic books? No, I want to know what somebody's going to do with my dead body when it's on a slab of cold steel. How does an autopsy work? Well, first of all, a word of warning for our viewers. If you're squeamish, you might want to watch a less gross episode of Brain Stuff, like why is bird poop white? Or how do bed bugs work? Okay, ready? Let's start by clarifying that an autopsy is a medical examination of a dead body to determine the cause of death. There's two types, forensic and clinical. Clinical ones are performed for research, medical training, or at the request of the deceased's family. And forensic autopsies are the ones you're used to seeing on TV, like when Agent Scully carves into a corpse because the truth is in there. This is often for legal reasons, potentially as evidence in criminal or civil court cases. While the general procedure is similar, for our purposes, let's stick to forensic autopsies. Why? Because I ain't going out like a punk. All
आपण तिथनं शेअर आपण तिथनं ही चूज नाही करू शकत आपण फक्त कॅमेराचं सेटिंग आहे एक मिनिट
व्हिडिओ पुढे आवाज पण येतो.
sitting outside of your body anyway. Depending on the style of funeral, they are either put back in or incinerated. Either way, the butterfly chest flaps are closed, the skull cap is placed back on your head, and everything is sewn up nice and tidy with a baseball stitch. So even after your body goes off to the funeral home, a pathologist's work is never done. It takes days to get tissue and blood samples tested, and at least 2 weeks for brain samples. Then it takes hours more to write up a detailed report for the official record. Keep in mind that this is a brief overview of the autopsy process. We didn't even get into examining wounds, determining the time of death, or what tools of the trade are used to crack you open. But after all that, I've got to ask, what do you want them to do with your body afterward? Bury it? Burn it? Dump it into the sea? Let us know in the comments below. And for more on cutting flesh, Brain stuff, I have a deeply concerning question for you today. What happens when I die? And I don't mean like, will I go to heaven or who gets all my new comic books? No, I want to know what somebody's going to do with my dead body when it's on a slab of cold steel. How does an autopsy work? Well, first of all, a word of warning for our viewers. If you are squeamish, you might want to watch a less gross episode of Brain Stuff, like why is bird poop white? Or how do bed bugs work? Okay, ready? Let's start by clarifying that an autopsy is a medical examination of a dead body to determine the cause of death. There's two types, forensic and clinical. Clinical ones are performed for research, medical training, or at the request of the deceased's family. And suicide and undetermined. Yeah, that last one may seem a little wishy-washy, but sometimes the answers aren't that clear for the attending medical examiner or coroner. And this is an important distinction. Forensic pathologists are physicians trained to perform autopsies. In some counties, they use coroners instead, and a coroner doesn't necessarily have medical training. They're elected to their position. They could be anyone. Farmers, snake handlers, even YouTube hosts. But if a non-medical coroner ever needs assistance, the state usually provides them with a medical examiner. When that examiner finally gets a hold of your cold body, here's what they'll do to it. First, they gather information on you, your death, and your medical records. Then they record an external exam of your appearance. They start by photographing you inside a body bag, noting your clothing and its position before stripping you naked. They try to establish your identity, noting ethnicity, gender, age, and hair and eye color. Then they collect samples of hair, fingernails, and any foreign objects found on your surface. Once the external exam is done, they clean your body, weigh it, and measure it. On the table, they place a rubber body block under your back to make your chest protrude forward so the arms and neck fall back. This makes it easier for the cutting. For a complete internal exam, they start with the chest, making a Y-shaped incision. Following this, they peel back your skin, muscle, and soft tissue with a scalpel, hold the chest flat over your face, and expose your rib cage and neck muscles. Your rib cage is then removed, followed by your larynx, esophagus, arteries, and ligaments. By severing a few attachments to your spinal cord, bladder, and rectum, the examiner can remove the rest of your organs as an entire set. Your organs are each examined and weighed, with sample slices taken of their tissue. If necessary, these organs are stored in formalin. Depending on how you died, they probably won't cut open your arms, hands, legs, or face. But don't think your head is off the hook just yet. If they need a peek inside your noggin, the examiner will move the rubber block under your neck like a pillow. Then they make a cut from behind one ear, across your forehead, over to the other ear, and then around the back. And then out comes the electric saw to pop the top of your skull off like a cap and expose your brain. This is severed from your spinal cord and then lifted out Frankenstein style. Just like your other organs, it's weighed and examined. What happens to all of those organs sitting outside of your body anyway? Depending on the style of funeral, they are either put back in or incinerated. Either way, the butterfly chest flaps are closed, the skull cap is placed back on your head, and everything is sewn up nice and tidy with a baseball stitch. Though even after your body goes off to the funeral home, a pathologist's work is never done. It takes days to get tissue and blood samples tested, and at least 2 weeks for brain samples. Then it takes hours more to write up a detailed report for the official record. Keep in mind that this is a brief overview of the autopsy process. We didn't even get into examining wounds, determining the time of death, or what tools of the trade are used to crack you open. But after all that, I've got to ask, what do you want them to do with your body afterward? Bury it? Burn it? Dump it into the sea? Let us know in the comments below. And for more on cutting flesh, sewing, and forensic testing, subscribe to our channel or visit our home at howstuffworks.com.
Okay. Next.
Sir, please continue for a check.
अभी मेरा वो हुआ Okay, fine. So we are facing some trouble here, the teething problem of technology. So now that you have seen this video, you must have got some idea of what autopsy is. Now with this little idea, we'll go into the depth now. Okay.
चालू आहे हे चालू आहे.
Yeah. ओके, ये तो बीच में से निकालो.
निकल दे.
Okay, now we are back. You have seen the video. Now we are back. We will be into the details. Okay. So, by definition, autopsy, also known as necropsy or thanatopsy. Now, mind you here, in Viva, we may, instead of asking autopsy, we may use the word thanatopsy or necropsy. So, be careful. Means post-mortem examination of organs and tissues of a body to determine cause of death. So, the main, objective, the main one. This is not the one only, but there's other objectives like you have seen in the second slide. But here we do a medical autopsy to determine cause of death. Okay, this is medical. And if it is a pathological autopsy, then we try to find out the pathological condition or the diagnosis. Okay, so this is one definition, and a simpler definition, very short definition is: it is the postmortem examination of a person's body after his death. Okay, so these are the two definitions. So when we do a medical legal autopsy, okay, so we have certain things in the mind. What are those? The aims and objectives we have while doing the autopsy in the mortuary, because the police, the judiciary, they are involved. So we, as a autopsy surgeon, okay, or as a doctor, MBBS doctor or a registered medical practitioner, you will move with certain aims and objectives. To remember, just remember 6 W's and 1 H. Okay, how will you remember? Jokingly, it is said that one husband has got 6 wives. One husband and 6 wives. So just remember 6 W's and 1 H. So what are those? What are the W's? Who is the victim? Okay, to establish the identity of the victim. What injuries? That will give you the description which you will be putting in the report. When did injury occur? This description will help you establish alibi. Alibi means, suppose what you have got it, okay, and when the witnesses will be asked, they will be will see whether they are telling the truth or falsehood. So whether there is corroboration of facts between what has been seen during examination and the evidence or the witnesses are giving in the court, to corroborate or to see the authenticity of that, that is known as alibi. Next, when did victim die? So that will give you the time since death which the judiciary wants, okay, to come to conclusion at the end of their case, court case. Where did death occur? Where did death occur is important, because wherever the death has occurred, that gives the jurisdiction. Jurisdiction means the police, the local police or the judiciary of that area will be concerned to bring justice for this case according to where the crime has happened, okay, or where the person has died. Okay. Which injury caused death? That will tell us the cause of death, which we are actually looking for. Okay. Why were the injuries produced? Why were the injuries produced? When we think about that, we get the manner of death. Okay. Manner of death, often police ask the doctor, but usually to find out the manner of death, this responsibility is largely on the shoulders of the police. But sometimes help is also taken. You are seeking for some of your family member, okay, then how important it is. Next is how the H1H, how were injuries produced? How were injuries produced? How were injuries produced? When you think about that, that also tells you about the manner of death. Okay. You know what is manner of death and what is mode of death. I have already taken in previous classes and told. Okay, so manner of death. What are the manner of death? Okay, how's the manner of death has happened? It will be like whether it is natural, accidental, okay, or in the previous video you have seen, okay, whether suicidal or homicidal, okay, and also one more is there where nothing can be said, whether it is natural, accidental, or suicidal or homicidal. So that becomes undetermined. Okay, if after doing the autopsy, if you couldn't comment on the manner of death, you can also choose undetermined. Okay, try not to choose as a doctor undetermined. As far as possible, try to find out what the reason has been. Okay. Next, objectives of autopsy other than those 6 W's and 1 H. So they are collection of evidence. Obviously, I told you that that is the last opportunity. Okay, almost to collect the evidences. After that, the body may be buried. If it is buried, then there may be another opportunity if there's a court order for exhumation and pulling out the body and re-examining. But if the body is disposed by incineration or burning, then in that case your autopsy is the last opportunity. Okay. So collection of evidence. Next, suppose there is a fetus inside a dead mother. There's a dead fetus. You have to determine the age of fetus. How to determine age of fetus? In the previous class, I have already told you, you're going to use Hess's rule. Okay. You remember that crown, foot length, you know that, right? So using CF length, crown heel length, when you take that one, you can come down and, calculate the age of the fetus. Next, determining viability, live or dead born status in newborn babies. So suppose a dead mother with a, not dead mother, suppose a police has brought you a baby, dead baby. Okay. Now whether the baby was dead born or whether the baby was born alive but later became dead. Okay. Or whether it is a stillborn, then also, okay, to find out that one, that also we do autopsy, and there are techniques or methods to find out that, which we will learn later. And whether, okay, the viability of the fetus also comes into question in the court. So for viability, it is 28 weeks, okay, of gestation. After 28 weeks, the baby is viable. Okay, viable means the baby, it is assumed that the baby can survive, okay, outside the uterus. So if it is a viable baby, then there are serious punishments if the baby has been killed because of someone's act of negligence, okay, or any such acts of offense. So the viability is also ascertained through autopsy. Viability of beings of a newborn. Next is correlation of diagnosis or even LEB. Okay, so to correlate or to find out diagnosis, then also autopsy is done. Usually that is known as clinical autopsy. Okay, you saw in the previous video forensic and clinical autopsies, the types. Okay, so that when you do a pathological autopsy, suppose what does it mean is that a patient was admitted and the patient has died very after a few hours, within 24 hours, and suppose the doctors couldn't find what is the diagnosis. So now this person has died. So sometimes the pathologist or the treating doctor can ask the relatives of the deceased, okay, ask permission whether they will allow for conducting a pathological autopsy. Now, if a pathological autopsy is done, there the main aim is to find out the diagnosis. Because the lab reports are pending, nothing, they couldn't figure out what it is. Okay, so by a pathological or clinical autopsy, they can come down to the diagnosis. Okay, and in medical legal autopsy also, diagnosis can be ascertained just in case if it has not been ascertained. Suppose in case of a dead body which was found by the side of the road, nobody knows how the person has died. There also diagnosis can be ascertained. Okay, and to assess the LAB of the witnesses. Now, in the video you saw, they told very broadly there are two types of autopsies, like forensic autopsy and clinical autopsy. But I am bringing you the different types of autopsies in greater depth. Okay, for your exam, all these things you will require. So what are those? An autopsy can be pathological, also known as clinical, also known as hospital autopsy. Okay. Next, it can be a virtual autopsy. Pathological autopsy, I have already told you why it is done. It is an autopsy. Autopsy means examination of the dead body. So there, the aim is to find out the diagnosis. Next is virtual autopsy, also known as virtopsy. So virtopsy is for what? Virtopsy is virtual autopsy where non-invasive procedures are used. I'll tell you in detail. Okay, non-invasive could be what? Like X-ray, CT, MRI, and all that. Through scanning. Okay. Next is psychological autopsy. There is also something known as psychological autopsy, where suppose a person has committed suicide and you are doing the postmortem. Okay, sometimes psychological autopsy is required because we have to see whether the person was really depressed. Okay, really he committed suicide, or it is whether some foul play is there or not. So psychological autopsy is done by taking histories of the relative. Okay, trying to know that before death how he was behaving, etc. Next, medical legal autopsy, also known as forensic autopsy. So that is those are the four types. Okay, then autopsy can also be classified as normal autopsy, which is regularly done in mortuaries most of the time. Defective autopsy. What is defective autopsy? That autopsy has been done in a negligent way or because of certain constraints. Okay. Because certain constraints, autopsy how it ought to be, it has not been there, so it is defective autopsy. Okay. Because of which most of the time opinions cannot be drawn even after doing the autopsy because it has not been done properly. Because suppose you don't have the knowledge and you're simply cutting the body without knowing anything. Okay, that autopsy will be a defective autopsy. Next is obscure autopsy. Obscure autopsy and negative autopsy. Okay, see, there's a difference between obscure autopsy and negative autopsy. Obscure autopsy is when it is not when prima facie or clearly during the examination it is you're still in doubt what could be the cause of death, but then you're sending you're collecting the evidence and you're sending for forensic science laboratory examination. When those reports will come, then you might be knowing, okay, or after that also you are in doubt. So these doubtful cases they become obscure autopsy. You're not very clear. Negative autopsy is what? When you have seen everything and you did not find any foul play in that one. Okay, and secondly, negative autopsy, there was no evidence to suggest, okay, that there is any foul play. Okay, you didn't find anything as a cause of death. You could not find any cause of death. Okay, and you could not you are unable to relate to the cause of death. Then it is a negative autopsy. You will go in further detail. Wait. So types of autopsy: complete autopsy. Autopsy again can be complete or limited autopsy, which is also known as partial autopsy. Okay, so partial or limited autopsy is the examples are like ecopsy. Okay, where ultrasound is used. Endoscopic or laparoscopic autopsy, where endoscopic probe or laparoscopic probe is used. Okay, they will simply go and see the GI level or inside the abdomen through the probe. Okay, they won't be cutting the body so much like what we do in a normal autopsy. Then there is a needle autopsy also. Okay, to just they will puncture and try to take out samples of different organs or tissues. Okay, and send for examination. So these are the limited autopsy. But as a doctor, you are not authorized to do limited autopsy. Okay, unless you get a order from the court. Okay, then only. Otherwise, you are always supposed to do a complete autopsy. Next, autopsy can also be a high risk autopsy where the deceased is, say, having very dreaded infection like maybe COVID infection or HIV and all that. So you have to take a lot of precaution before conducting that autopsy. Next is second autopsy. Second autopsy is sometimes after the court may not be satisfied with the autopsy report that you have made, and if a person is buried, the court will give orders to exhume the body. Okay, if it is buried, to dig out the body again and conduct the autopsy again. So what happens? Second autopsy can come in as a question. Okay, be careful. So second autopsy is like how it is done. The court will give an order. Based on an order, a panel will be formed. The panel is in the panel. There will be 3 doctors, of which one of the doctor must be the first doctor who did the first autopsy. Okay, the doctor who did the first autopsy should be one amongst the 3 in the panel, and then they will go to the site or wherever they bring the body, but they will conduct an autopsy again. Okay, when they conduct the autopsy again, sometimes they can appreciate certain things which you were missing in the first autopsy, which they could not see. Sometimes bruises or contusions you can see later. Initially, you couldn't have seen. Okay, because the body was fresh. Okay, and the contusion or the bruises, the blood and collection in the body was deep inside the body. You could not appreciate, but now it is coming out towards the surface. You can appreciate that. Next is autopsy at night. Autopsy is at night or night autopsy. Here is what when you are conducting autopsy beyond in the night, beyond before sunrise or after sunset. Actually, autopsy rule is that you have to conduct it in broad daylight. Otherwise, you will make mistakes. Okay, you will not be able to appreciate the true color of staining or the blood and other color changes in the body. Then there is autopsy in mass disaster. Okay, autopsy in mass disaster because of aircraft accident or a train accident or mass disaster, suppose in a war field. Okay, where usually limited autopsy is done, or where the in the area where it is evident that it has happened because of a certain cause. Sorry, because of a certain cause, there autopsy can be slightly made less elaborate, and the bodies are given a number, and they can be a fast autopsy of several hundreds of people, or how many people, whatever number of people are involved. Autopsies are conducted and reports are made. Okay, now let us go into deep. What is pathological autopsy? So as I already told you, it is for making the diagnosis, okay, and therefore determine the cause of death. So the extent of natural disease, usually in natural disease, it is not a medical legal case, right? It is a pathological autopsy. In natural diseases, it is done provided you have the consent of the relatives. If the relatives refuse, then it cannot be done. Many times it is done for research purpose also. It detects previously unrecognized disease and inheritable conditions present in the disease, also sometimes they becomes clear. Next, what is virtual autopsy? As I already told you, that without touching the body, that means using scanning techniques, okay, like X-ray, CT, and MRI scans, you're conducting an autopsy. This you can largely use in cases where there is bullet injury. How will you know where the bullet is? Okay, so if you do a scan, you could see where the bullet is lodged in the body. Okay. Next, psychological autopsy. As I've already told you, systematically they collect information from the relatives by taking history and other known people or from the neighbors, and then they come, try to see whether the person was disturbed before death. Okay, certain leads which can say that the patient was disturbed, and maybe therefore that forms the basis for him committing suicide. Okay. Usually it is required for in insurance claims. Okay, psychological autopsies are done where there are insurance claims and other such claims. Okay. So psychological autopsy to determine mode of death, obviously. Okay, the state of the mind of the deceased at the time of death, and honest information in a way is taken will be which will be healing for survival. To gain information that will be helpful in treating future patients. So these are the objectives. Next, medical legal autopsy. This is very important from forensic point of view and even in your life as a doctor. So it determines the time of death. Very important. Time of death. Invariably, it is asked in the court. Okay, I told you in the last class how to measure, and find out what is the time of death. Okay, all those post-mortem changes in the body, they help us in determining time, TSD, time since death or time of death, and also the age of injuries also can be ascertained. When we'll go to the injury chapter, then you'll come to know. Okay, by seeing an injury, you can actually determine time of the injury, okay? Or the age of the injury. Determines pattern of injuries and the relationship to the object or weapon causing them. So, by seeing the injuries, they can also tell you when, how the person was attacked, from which side he was attacked, and you can, we can, recreate the crime scene. Determines the manner and mechanism of death. So that's how you may know the manner of death and also the mechanism of death. All these things we try to find out in medical legal autopsy. Next. With autopsy, there are few rules, always keep it in mind. Okay, if you follow these rules, you will not be in problem. What is the first rule is that before conducting autopsy, you need a written order from the police officer. Okay, which is also known as Panchnama. What is Panchnama? I told you in the last class. It should be, autopsy should be done, medical legal autopsy invariably should be done in daytime. Okay. Next is where it should be done. Always in the mortuary. Always in the mortuary. But there are few cases where it was, one of our prime minister's autopsy, okay, was done in the OT itself. Okay. No, those are rare, but otherwise, invariably it should be done in the mortuary. Next, identity of the deceased should be established. Okay, always established identity. It's not like your identity and the papers are talking of some person and you're doing autopsy of another person, and then later, because the body is already disposed, and later you'll be in deep trouble if the things are not correlated. Okay, you ask the police to give all the details, okay, of the deceased regarding identity. No unauthorized person should be present at autopsy. Okay, don't allow any unauthorized person inside the room. Which room? Mortuary room where you are doing the autopsy. Remember, 3 great cavities should be open. What are the 3 great cavities? The cranial cavity, the thoracic, and the abdominal cavity. All the 3 cavities must be open. Okay. Both positive and negative findings should be recorded. It's not only the positive finding that there is a cut here, or there is an injury here, only you are recording that. Even sometimes negative recordings are also important. As you go ahead, you'll come to know the importance of negative findings. Okay. Negative findings, negative findings. Suppose there is a history coming to you that this person has taken kerosene, because of kerosene poisoning, the person is dead. But you are not getting the smell of kerosene. So that is a negative finding. You have to write that. For an example like this. Autopsy report and body handed over to police constable after completion of autopsy. After doing a medical legal autopsy, hand over the body to none other than the police. Even if the relative wants, they will put pressure, whatever, don't give it to anybody other than the police, and that police also you have to take his name, number. Okay, every policeman has got a number. So name, number, and his identity details. And only after taking his acknowledgement, then only you have to give the body. Okay, till that time, when you are doing the autopsy, the body is in your custody. And if you happen to lose the body, you will be directed inside the jail. Okay. In general, please remember, autopsy must be always complete, like how I told you. All body cavities and organs must be examined. Okay, more autopsy is worse than no autopsy. No use doing an autopsy just for the heck of it. You are not having knowledge and simply opening the body. You don't know what you are seeing inside. Again, closing. Don't do. Better don't do. But if you are forced to do, but you can call help of another doctor. But simply doing without actually observing and recording, okay, will land you in trouble. It should be carried out by the doctor and not left to mortuary attendant. Okay, from the beginning to the end, you must be there doing the mortuary. Okay, just after opening of the abdomen, thorax, and all that, and then you have the autopsy. You are telling the mortuary attendant to do it to complete. Okay, don't do that. See that the body was open in front of you and closed also in front of you. Okay, you have to be there. You have to do the autopsy. Contents of postmortem report. Now, whatever you have seen, you have recorded, okay, and you have to put all this recording in the postmortem report. Now, the postmortem report, in a simple thing, it has got 3 parts: the preamble, okay, the body, and the conclusion. So, the preamble contains about the identity of the deceased, from what's his name, age, from where he is, and all that. Identity or demographic profile. Second, it will also contain the postmortem number, okay, PM number. And the body will contain all the details and description that you have collected during the autopsy. Okay, and in the conclusion will mainly, and the conclusion will be regarding what are the evidence you have collected and sent to FSL lab, forensic science laboratory, and what is your most important, your opinion. Okay, what is your opinion? In this report, we are going to give the opinion. The opinion will be on the cause of death, date and time of autopsy also, and all those signature and all that you have to give properly. Be careful before handing the postmortem report. You have to be as thorough as possible. Next, these are some instruments and accessories used in autopsy. This you will get in your textbook. You go through that one, like scalpels, knives, scissors, chisels, and hammer, measuring tape, balance, glass bottles. Okay, photograph, videography, set. Okay, and all that, and all the organs and tissues that you will be sending. See, all this tissue. Once the person is dead, I told you what happens. The tissue autolysis will start. Okay, initially autolysis will start after that. Okay, and followed by degradation of the tissue. Okay, so to prevent autolysis, we have to put it in some preservative. Okay, so otherwise, by the time you collect all these tissues and send to FSL department, they will get spoiled. So whether FSL department or pathological lab you are sending, it will get spoiled. To prevent this spoilage, if you are sending these tissues, organs and all, if you are sending to forensic science lab for chemical analysis, then you have to add saturated solution of common salt and some other preservatives which I will tell you. Okay. But if you are sending for histopathological examination, then you have to put formalin. How much formalin? That is the strength is 10% formalin. In that you send to histopathological department. If you use formalin and send for chemical analysis, then the chemical analyzer, okay, will not be able to find out if there was any chemical poisoning or so because of the presence of formalin. So remember, for histopathological examination, you can send it in 10% formalin, but for chemical analysis to FSL lab, you have to put it in saturated solution of common salt. Don't write sodium chloride. Saturated solution of common salt. Nobody uses pure sodium chloride 100%. Okay, it is always the common salt which is brought, and it has to be saturated solution. We can use other preservatives like rectified spirit and all that. So you will come to know where rectified spirit is used. Okay, saturated solution of common salt. Okay, rectified spirit, formalin, and there are so many other preservatives. We'll come to that slide also. Then this is a question by itself. Okay, it can come as a short note. Universal work precautions. So in this universal work precautions is a very important slide. Okay, if it comes as a short note, you got to write this. Okay, so what is important in that? Tagging of body. If it is a biologically hazard, if it is COVID-19, so we may put a tag as biologically hazard. Okay, or suppose it's a suppose the body was exposed to radiation. Okay, then we have to tag these kind of bodies so that nobody by mistake will touch the body, get infected or get irradiation. Handling of bodies. Okay, as a worker, whether medical attendant or a forensic surgeon, you should not do autopsy if you're having exudative lesion, where pus is coming out from some injury, or there's a weeping dermatitis, or any injury if it's there. Okay, because you will get infection through that one. Okay, so these are discouraged. Anybody having this, otherwise it has to be covered with double gloves and all that. Okay. Next, handling sharp instruments. Before handling sharp instruments, anyway you will all be with gloves. But for handling sharp instruments, Kevlar gloves is required. Kevlar gloves are made with these are gloves made of chain, steel fabric kind. Okay, so you use Kevlar gloves, or you can use double rubber glove. Then sodium. Remember this. If suppose during autopsy you have by mistake cut your finger, how will you what treatment you are going to take? You have got to use sodium hypochlorite. You expose that injury to sodium hypochlorite and then wash it with soap and water. Okay, whether it is you or your worker, remember sodium hypochlorite followed by soap and water. Of course, protective clothing like visors, okay, goggles, caps, masks, aprons, shoe cover, and all that you have to wear before doing any autopsy. You cannot simply go with this kind, civil cloth and going and doing the autopsy. Okay, otherwise you are going to bring all the infection to your own home. Then use the instruments. The instruments which have been used in autopsy, we cannot go on throwing them, but we treat them. Treat with what? Remember this thing. Treat with what? 3.4% glutenyl DA. Okay, followed by soap and water. Okay, washing. So 3.4% glutenyl DA, please remember this. For used instruments. Of course, for towels and all, it can go for autoclaving. Next, after doing autopsy, you yourself have to take bath with soap and water. Okay. After doing autopsy, going and sleeping on the bed because you're very tired, not acceptable. You should take bath. Otherwise, you will get sick. Now let us see what is external examination. Okay. External examination. Otherwise, most of us, when we do autopsy, first we start with external examination. Okay, and then we go to internal examination. In external examination, what are the steps I'm going to tell you, but the external examination itself will give you so much of detail. Okay, then you can many times you can come actually to the cause of death. Okay, but then we go to the internal examination also, which we have to do, and then confirm consciousness. Let's see. So in the external examination, you have to see the clothes. If suppose there is a blood stain, okay, try to send that to for analysis. Okay, to forensic science lab. Okay, blood stains are there. Okay, whether it is a blood of the person or whether it is an animal's blood or someone else's blood. So that is an evidence. Okay, so try to find out, try to see the dimensions of the cloth, record them. Next, nail scraping. Why nail scraping? Because so two people fought, one of them died, but during the fight, the deceased now is in front of you. He must have scratched the other person. So the person who might have killed him, his cells of the skin might be under the nails. Okay, from this we can connect to the person who has killed him. How? Through DNA analysis. So nail scraping, then vaginal and anal swabs in case of sexual offenses. What is it? Vaginal and anal swab. Okay, it's a woman, it's a young girl. Okay, try always to take a vaginal and an anal swab. We never know whether she was raped or not. Okay, height and weight of the body. Okay, take the height and weight of the body, general condition of skin, whether there is pallor is there or jaundice is there. It will be telling you whether the person is, the cause of death is a natural or something else. Okay, so natural, this general condition of skin is important. Then, of course, the fingerprints. If the person is identified, well and good. If the person is an unknown body, you have to take fingerprints. Already, fingerprint classes have been taken. To take fingerprints from a dead body, usually we take out the epidermis. Okay, if a degloving can be done, it is done, and the fingerprints are taken. I think that class has been already taken earlier by Kushal sir. Okay. So how to take fingerprints in the living and the dead? Go through this. Okay. You can either put the ink and take it. Okay, on paper. Fingerprint of all the 10 fingers. And for the dead, if suppose it is very dirty, if a degloving is already happening, remove the first epidermis, and after removing, you will get a very nice fingerprints. Okay. Then, of course, general description of the person, how he looks, will tell you. Now, from this diagram, you know that he is the third one is Shah Rukh Khan. Okay. So just by seeing, note down who he is, what kind of person. Okay. Whether he is, try to find out the race and all. Okay. Whether he is Indian or foreign or what. Presence of stains on skin. Any stain on skin is important. Note it down. Okay. Signs of disease. If you find, note it down. Hair, scalp hair, whether it is scalp hair or whether it is hair of the this beard, or from the beard, or the cut beard. Okay, so they will also throw a lot of light. Okay, so if someone is done shaving, okay, so at what time the shaving was done, that also you can actually find out. Okay, that's why head hair means scalp hair plus the hair from the face. Okay, they also throw a lot of light. It helps you to find out time since death. Okay, we'll come in detail on that. Then, of course, you see one by one thing. You start from when you're examining, you start from the top to bottom. So you'll see the face, any abnormal findings. Okay, whether positive or negative, you have to note it down. face, how is the face, whether it's a natural looking or whether it is a bloated face. Okay, or whatever you see, you write. Eyes, whether it is bulging or whether it is eyes are there or no, whether it is in the socket or it's not there, and all those whatever you see, you write. Ears, whether blood is coming out from the ear or no. The neck, okay, the neck, how is the neck? Okay, any injuries are there or no? Lymph nodes, whether there are palpable lymph nodes or no, that may suggest that he is a diseased person, maybe tuberculosis or something. If you find really palpable, lymph nodes in the axilla, it can be a tuberculosis or in some lymphoma or something. So all these small things, small findings, when they come together in one basket, that will help you and make it very easy for you to establish the cause of death. Similarly, thorax, breast, abdomen, back, thorax, okay, chest area, then breasts, okay, abdomen, see, thorax for any injuries, breast for any injuries, abdomen, okay, for any injuries, and any abnormal developments that you may see, note it down. You also have to turn the body and see in the back whether there are any injuries or anything suspicious. Note it down. There may be tram line injuries, and you'll know what it is. If somebody has beaten him from the back with a stick, you'll get all those contusions. You note it down. Then external genital, see whether it is intact or mutilated. Okay, the natural orifice, all the natural orifice. Sometimes people kill, okay, by suppose they will make a person, imagine making a person unconscious, then poking him with some pointed object through the orifices, like the nasal orifice or the through the ear, okay, through the anus or the vagina. These injuries will be concealed. From the outside you won't see, but inside there is so much of injury. Okay, from outside you will see this seems to be a natural death. Okay, so you have to be very careful. You have to see every orifice whether there are hidden or concealed injuries or not. Then position of all the limbs. Okay, the position of all the limbs, whether they are supine, okay, they are straight or whether they are bent or what, flexed or what, whether they are extended or flexed. You have to see, because that also tells, throws light on the manner of that. Okay, see whether there are some deformities or no. Okay, note it down. Nothing has to escape. Then needle puncture marks. Okay, whether there is a needle puncture mark, be careful in the obvious areas of the arms and all. Sometimes he can be a drug addict who might have taken a high dose of his own drug, whatever addiction he is on. Okay, and he might have killed himself. So next, fractures and dislocations. This will reveal whether there is some assault on him. Temperature will tell you the time since there. Okay, note the temperature of the body. Articles removed from body. Okay, all the articles removed from the body, make a list. That also must come in the record. Don't miss any of these, because otherwise the court will ask you why you did not record. What is the information on this? And you will be stuck. You will not be able to answer. And suppose you have not collected the evidence, okay, under section 201 IPC, you will be charged for concealing evidence. Okay, so don't fall, in the trap. Any medical procedure done, whether there is a suture, whether some, the body has come from for autopsy, maybe from the trauma center, then you will find, or maybe simply coming from the jungle, and you will see there is a incision mark. Okay, maybe somebody has taken away his organs. Okay, or if there is a suture mark, you have to note down how many stitches are there. That also you have to note it down. Okay, how many stitches are there? Okay, how long, the dimensions, the size of the injury, that also you have to write. Okay, all these are important, because maybe he has died out of septicemia following that incision or the operation that he has gone through. Okay, many things are there. So your duty is, as an autopsy surgeon or as a MBBS doctor, just go on noting on this. Next, this was all external. Okay, give some time, note all this. Next comes the internal examination. In internal examination, okay, what it consists of? It consists of making the incisions internal. You have to go inside the body, so you have to cut the body now. How will you do? Inside, you have to make incisions. Then inspect. After making incision, see the organs for yourself. Okay, see the organs. Okay, then examine the cavities systematically. First the head, then the thorax or the abdomen, or reverse. Usually we open up the head first. Why? Because if we open the head first, most of the blood will flow away. Because of which, when you open the abdomen, okay, you can open the abdomen and see all the organs neatly. Otherwise, what will happen? The blood will get collected in the abdomen and it will obliterate, okay, you from seeing the organs. It will be fully flooded. You won't be able to appreciate the organs. Okay. Then all the organs that you have removed, okay, you should measure them, weigh and measure the organs, because you have to write the weight of all these organs. It is it is given in the autopsy report. Okay. Then if it is given what is the weight of the heart, you have to write down the weight of the heart. So all the organs you have to take the weight. Okay. Checking for any pathology. See for if any pathology is there. How is the lung quality? Okay. Whether caseating pus. Okay, caseous material is coming out from the lungs or no. So that will tell you that this person might have had tuberculosis. So it seems to be a natural death. That could be a opinion. Okay. Putting the organs back in, of course, after doing all this, when you have finished examining all this, you have to put the organs back inside. Not that you are taking and throwing in dustbin. Okay, take all the organs, put it inside. Okay, if required, you can do padding also. If suppose some organs you have taken and you are sending for forensic science lab, there are gaps there, so you can fill up those gaps with padding and then suture the body. Okay. Next, what are the different types of skin incisions that you will put? This is a question for Viva. Okay, and you never know, it can come short-term process. What are different types? One is eye-shaped incision. Okay, eye-shaped incision is from the just below the chin and it goes straight up to the pubic symphysis. Okay, while going down, it just goes outside the not outside the around the umbilicus. Why? Because the umbilicus contains fibrous tissue, very strong fibrous tissue, because of which it is very difficult to actually incise. So we just go around the umbilicus and go down again. So this is the eye-shaped incision. Y-shaped incision. Y-shaped incision starts from both the mastoid process, okay, and you see in this diagram. Mastoid process, anyway. Okay. Maybe you may consider this. Anyway, from the mastoid process, it comes to the supra, suprasternal notch, and from there you can come down. Okay. Then there are other incisions like modified Y shape. In modified Y shape, okay, it's a reverse Y. It is usually done in infants. Okay, where it comes from the chin, you are going down, and just over the umbilicus, it bifurcates. Okay. Next is inverted Y shape. Okay. This modified Y shape is actually starts from the axilla. I'm sorry. It starts from the axilla, goes under the breast, comes to the near the zygote process, and then it goes down. That is modified Y shape. And the inverted Y shape is the one which I told you about the infant. Okay. It comes straight from the chin towards the umbilicus, just above the umbilicus, it bifurcates. That is the inverted Y. Then there is a T shape also. Okay, a T shape is the it just goes below the clavicle. Okay, subclavicular. It is known as subclavicular. Just below the clavicle, you cut it this way, come to the the center. Okay, and then go down. The next is H shape. H shape is behind in the back. Okay, in the back. Okay, you turn the body. There might be H-shaped incisions is given. Why it is done? It is done to see if the disease was assaulted. Maybe there will be some contusions and bruises and all that to find out H-shape. Now all these types of incision they're given in your textbook. See for yourself. Sometimes incision has to be modified as per the condition, or maybe for some special condition. Suppose there are some constraints. So accordingly, you can little bit manipulate. Okay. Next methods. Then now you have given the incision. Now you can enter the body. Now, how would you enter the body? Once you enter the body, how I told you, you have to go first the cranial cavity, the three cavities, the cranial cavity, the thoracic cavity, and the abdominal cavity. So when you go inside, you have to now you have to cut the organs and take it out. If you're cutting one by one organ, that is known as Virchow's method. He is Mr. Virchow. Okay. And if the body is very infected, okay, it's an infected body. Okay, we usually don't try to remove the organs, because if you remove the organs, we ourselves can fall sick. Okay, so we do very, inside only we will try to find out. We will all do all dissection inside and keep the organs inside. This is known as in situ dissection. This method was promulgated by Rockitens. He is Mr. Rockitens. Letul, another person is there, Mr. Letul. He also brought a method, okay, where N mass in single block from tongue to prostate. So from the tongue to prostate, the entire body, including all the lungs and all the intestine, entire thing is brought out on the table as a single mass. This is known as N mass. Okay, Mr. Letul's photo I am not having. Then there is another one, Hornsman. In Hornsman, he is Mr. Horn. He suggested another one. He brings the same thing, just like Letul, but here cervicothoracic is one block, abdominal is another block, and pelvic organs is another block. Okay, so he removes it as three separate blocks. You can choose any of these method. Okay, on regular basis, usually it is the Virchow's method which is used in regular. Sandeep. Next video. Okay. Now after knowing this much, now you know how to approach the dead body. Okay, how you will approach? First, you will secure the documents and identity of the dead body. In the next step, you will do the external examination. Okay, all the points I have told you. Then you will go to the internal examination and you will complete the autopsy. Okay, then you are of course going for the reporting. But now, after knowing this much, you see another video, and whatever you have learned, apply this knowledge. Okay, and try to comprehend this video. Okay, it will be interesting because now you know what autopsy is. Okay. So, okay.
Hi, you don't know what happens next in the autopsy theater? Wait, let's see it now. But before that, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay updated about our new videos. Autopsy, also called postmortem examination or abduction, is a specialized surgical procedure of the body of a dead person. The word autopsy comes from the Greek word autopsia, which means to see for oneself. Autopsy may be age-specific or whole body examination. There are mainly two types of autopsies: medico-legal autopsy or forensic autopsy, clinical or pathological autopsies. Clinical or pathological autopsies are conducted for research purpose and they go light into disease pattern, efficiency of a recent surgery or any clinical treatment, pathological abnormality detection, and also on the quality of the hospital care. In other cases, like clinical ones, the patient who was treating the patient for a while will be asked to be the present in the autopsy theater, and he can be a silent observer. Medico-legal autopsy is commonly referred to as a forensic autopsy, is done to find the cause and manner of death or sometimes to identify the dead body. Based on the forensic autopsy report, the deaths are classified into natural, accidental, homicidal, suicidal, undetermined. Autopsy procedures may vary based on the purpose for which it is conducted, but as a general pattern, this is what happens. Each and every inch of the corpse is photographed, and the entire process of the postmortem is videographed in many countries. Pictures at the initial stage will be taken with subjects' clothes on and after they have been removed. This gives the pathologist an idea about the external injuries or struggle possibilities. Fingerprints of all possible fingers will be taken and recorded individually. If the body is in an advanced stage of decomposition, making the fingerprint fetching impossible, the physician cuts the skin carefully around the corpse wrist and take off the skin around the hand. The pathologist can wear this skin like a glove and record the fingerprint of the deceased. The body is later subjected to an X-ray examination to have a look into the body without tampering it. Bone abnormalities, locations of bullet, etc. can be found in X-ray. X-ray spectrometry is also done to trace evidence like gunpowder deposits or paint flakes on the body. The forensic pathologists are well versed in examining and testing the body fluids. The blood and vitreous humor from the eyes provide valuable information about the toxicology, DNA typing, and physiological conditions of the patient. Vitreous humor, being the cellular and isolated from other body fluids, can reveal alcohol or drug abuse in the body. Metabolic disorders like diabetes can also be identified and quantified. Done with the external examination and closely noting down and imaging all the important observations, the pathologist will now proceed for the internal examination. Before cutting open the body, the torso is placed on a rubber or wooden block, extending the body on and thus creating greater access to the thoracic and abdominal areas. It is unusual to examine the face, arms, hands, and legs internally. The internal examination begins with a large, deep, Y-shaped incision made from shoulder to shoulder, meeting at the breastbone or sternum, and extending as a single line all down to the pubic bone. Some pathologists use T-incision also if the subject is male. In either cases, there is little or no bloodshed, as there is no heart pumping, and the only blood pressure comes from gravity. After the Y incision is made, the skin is peeled back, and the muscle and soft tissue is detached using a scalpel. This exposes the rib cage and neck muscles. Two cuts are made on each side of the rib cage, and it is pulled out from the skeleton. Larynx, esophagus, arteries, ligaments, etc. are cut and detached. Organs attached to the spinal cord as well as attachment to the bladder and sternum are severed, and now the entire organs can be pulled out for detailed inspection. Blood vessels, major ones, are bisected and examined. In due course of examination, all organs are weighed and examined. Weighing of organs like heart or lungs is done because some type of illness can cause reduction or increase in weight. Examination for wound and type and depth can lead to valuable tools, especially in homicidal cases. Tissue samples taken from organs in the form of slices are viewed microscopically. The organs, if they are to be retained outside the body, are fixed in formalin, which facilitates firming and preservation. Firming using formalin helps in further detailed investigation. Tissue samples are sometimes frozen and stored for further legal implications. The physician can also order for toxicological and gas chromatography of blood in tissue samples to look for poisoning and metabolic byproduct assay. Later, the abdomen examination begins. The stomach and intestine contents are examined and weighed. This could be useful to find cause and time of death due to the natural passage of food through the bowel during digestion. The emptier the area, the longer the deceased had gone without a meal before death. Injuries, if any, to the intestine, spleen, gallbladder, etc., are paid detailed attention. The final stage of examination is the head and the brain examination. For this, the rubber or the wooden block is moved to elevate the head. The skull is cut open by making a cut across the crown of the head from the bony bone behind one ear to the other. Skin and hair are peeled back, exposing the skull. Using a circular or a semicircular saw, the top of the skull is cut off and the skull cap is removed with a chisel, revealing the brain. Brain examination can show whether the deceased had degenerating diseases like Alzheimer's or meningitis. If necessary, the brain is taken up, weighed, and examined. Tissue samples are taken for further record. Brain, if retained for clinical purposes, needs to be fixed in formalin. Reconstitution of the body is the final step after examination of the corpse. The organs are returned to the body unless otherwise ordered. If the organs are returned, they are placed in bags to prevent leakage. The body is being sewed back using the characteristic wavebird strips, and prior to this, the cavity are lined with cotton wool or similar material to give it the normal appearance. The autopsy is finished and the body is now intact. Based on the observation and pathological and toxicological results, the forensic physician now prepares the report with the sufficient photographs and video recordings.
So now you have seen in this video, okay, there were some changes, like they opened the abdomen first, then we went to head. But normally we open the head, then we come to the abdomen. Okay, but you can do either of them. If we do the head first, alright. If you do the head first, then we will get a clean abdominal feel for doing the dissection. Okay, so that was the video. Now we will proceed for the dissection on the head. Now head is, keep it simple, from just from one mastoid to the other mastoid. You see in this diagram, okay, there is an incision given in the scalp, and just above the ear. Above the ear, it is in a zigzag format. Why zigzag? So that when we will place the skull back again, at that time it will not get displaced. Okay. Once you have cut the skull, we open the flap back, and since it is, you have this is about this incision. What is being shown here is regarding the cranium. But before that, you are doing the scalp. For scalp incision, you are going from one mastoid to the other mastoid, and then you open it. Okay, the back part will go back, the forward part will come to the forward. Once the cranium is the skull is opened, then you give this incision. While giving it in the bone, just above the ear, we make a zigzag so that we can place it again and it won't get displaced because we have to close it again, right? Okay, that zigzag you can call it B shape. Next, once you opened it, then you will enter. Once you open the skull, what will you see inside? You will see the dura mater. So dura mater, just when we cut the skull, we'll cut it again. But this dura mater will be adhering to the cranium base. Okay. So dura is incised along the lines of the incision of the skull, like how I told you, and fold it to the midline. Okay, you cut like this, fold it to the midline. Then fac cerebri is freed from the cribriform plate. You know where is the cribriform plate? In the anterior cranial fossa. From there, you have to cut it and pull it out. Dura is pulled back. Okay, when you pull it, the dura mater will come out. Now you have the brain in front of you. Okay, the brain, you have to put 4 fingers to this side, to that side. Put the 4 fingers, try to go under, below the brain. Okay, and then 4 fingers of the left hand, obviously, because the right hand you are holding the scalpel. 4 fingers of the left hand are inserted into the frontal lobe and the nerves. Why frontal lobe? See, when I am doing like this, because the dead body will be away from me. I am the autopsy surgeon, and I am standing behind his head. Okay, behind his head. Now, when I put this 4 fingers, I will put it through the from below the frontal lobe. Okay, and the nerves and vessels. After I reach below, then I will cut the nerves and vessels as I go. You'll see the vessels. When it's slightly you pull, you'll get the vessels. Just cut it, because now we are removing the brain as a whole. Okay. Tentorium is also cut. You have to cut the tentorium because the tentorium will be blocking the cerebrum and the cerebellum. So you just cut the in a V shape. You just cut the tentorium, and then you can go below the cerebellum. Once you are just below the cerebellum, your fingers will be near the spinal nerve. Okay, all those. So once you get below that one, okay, the cervical nerves and the vertebral arteries, all those areas you will reach. You just cut it. Once you cut there at the stem, far down the stem, you will get the entire brain out as a single piece. Okay. With the right hand, the cerebellum is grasped and examined. Then you can examine one by one. Okay. Any signs of, you see the brain for any signs of hemorrhage, injury, or any other disease. Okay. Now, at the base of the brain, you know that there is a circle of Willis. So you have to see the circle of Willis, because most of the time there is thrombosis there. Okay. Or there may be air embolism there. So you have to see the circle of Willis. Now you must also read the circle of Willis and the branching, which you have already done in anatomy, but I may ask you to make a diagram of the circle of Willis. Okay, of the brain. So you must know how the circle of Willis just below the brain. Okay, how it is and what are the branches. You must know circle of Willis. I can ask you for making the diagram. Okay, just read that. There may be aneurysms, okay, some the balloon-like bloating of the circle of Willis, or atherosclerotic changes. So this could be reason for the cause of death or something. Maybe there is a ruptured aneurysm there. You have to see all this. Okay? So now you don't have to fear the brain when it comes out. We have brought it out. You don't have to fear that what will I see. So I told you from the surface you see for any injury or hemorrhages. Then you turn the brain and see for the circle of Willis. Most of the defects are usually there. Then you have to cut the brain and see whether there is any hematoma inside or no. You are going to cut the brain like how you cut the bread, okay, in slices, and you see. You can also send the brain if you are suspicious. You can send it for pathological or histopathological examination. Okay. Then the cranial cavity is finished. I told you 3 cavities you enter. Now come to the thoracic cavity. In the thoracic cavity, you open. You have seen the video. Open the thoracic rib cage. Okay, and then dissect the pericardium. You enter the heart. Bring out the heart. Once the heart is on the table, then you take a probe. Okay, which may be a wire or some probe you take and follow the passage of how the blood travels through the heart. Okay, if you just try to go through that, you put the probe through the passage of the blood circulation of the heart. Okay, now this is a dead heart, but you put the probe in that way. Once the probe is inside, then you take a scissor and you cut, okay, laterally through the heart muscle. Okay, but what will support you? How your scissor will move, then the probe will help you. Okay, how the scissor should move, but try to cut it laterally. Okay, to make the heart open up. Okay, so that you can appreciate inside whether any thrombus formation or any other disease or abnormalities are there or not. You can see for yourself. Okay. So mobile phone दिख रहे हैं. Okay. Chest muscles. So you remove the chest muscle first, then the ribs are removed. Okay. And then with a bone cutter, you remove the ribs and all. Okay. And the chest is open. Okay. You'll see in a video how it is done. Okay. Okay, so pay attention of removing the bones at the sternoclavicular joints. Okay, you have to anyway open up the chest. Now that was about the heart. Regarding the lungs, okay, you just put your hands below the lung and at the hilar region. You have to take your scalpel upside. Means you have to the sharper edge will be towards the upside, and then you have to cut at the hilum. Okay, and maybe before, if you are suspicious about some gas poisoning, then before cutting the hilum, you have to tie it at the hilum firmly with some thread. So then when you cut and bring one of the lung outside, it will be already tied at the neck. Okay, bring out the 2 lungs and put them in a nylon bags. Okay, so that the gas which is already there, it may not fly away. Okay, and send it for forensic lab examination. Just a minute. I'm going to show you another very short video. Okay, and you'll see. You see what I told you. You'll see for yourself in a video format. अभी वो वीडियो है. अभी वो वीडियो नहीं है. Third video. Your speaking spot. You check it.
आवाज आया तो अनम्यूट है ना, अनम्यूट करना पड़ेगा।
Today,
अनम्यूट आया तो
हाँ
अरे आवाज आ रहा है, मेरा आवाज जा रहा है कि उसकी भी
today I am going to demonstrate you steps of opening of skull. We will start with the scale dimension. For that, the signal is given from mastoid process to another mastoid process over the vertex. I'm giving the first incision. See, this is the mastoid process. So this is the mastoid process. So this is a mastoid process. I'm starting my incision from one mastoid. It's going over the vertex toward the another mastoid. Okay. So this is the first incision. Please take care that here is the root cut. So all the names of the scales are cut. This is the first incision. We'll just extend this incision a little bit like this for ease of dissection. Now this anterior flap will be retracted forward. See, we are retracting the anterior flap. We should do a little blunt dissection with our finger because that gives better result compared to the knife. Like this. So anterior flap we are retracting forward. To take anterior flap till supraorbital margin. So like this. Now we will retract the posterior flap. Again, just extend the lesion just for ease of dissection. With cotton. See, I'm retracting the posterior flap. Now the anterior flap is anteriorly and posterior flap is so next step is fronting with the temporalis fascia. This is the temporalis fascia, underlying temporalis muscle. We will cut this temporalis muscle and fascia like this by the swipe of knife. This temporalis fascia and temporalis muscle is cut. Similarly, on another side, we'll cut the temporalis muscles, and the fascia. Now next one. We have to open the skull cap for the vault of the skull. For that first we will make an outline. We will make an outline with the help of this iron plate. We'll make an outline. Now our step was to open the skull cap. In each one we had retracted the anterior flap forward and posterior flap backward. Then we had made an outline anteriorly above the occipital margin, posteriorly around the occipital protuberance. Then between the anterior and posterior angle is made. So we have made an outline to open the skull cap. Now we will use the scissor and hammer. So we have removed the skull cap. We can see the durameter. We will remove the durameter along the same line of incision that we have removed the skull cap. The same line of incision we are removing the durameter. The free flap of dura, the fold of dura. You can see the brain. The dura. Now we remove the brain. We just put our fingers of left hand in front of the frontal lobe. So we can see the optic nerve. See the optic nerve. I'm going to cut this optic nerve. This optic nerve is cut on this one side, on the other side. Below I can see the tentorial cerebelli. Between the tentorial cerebelli, one side. entering cerebellum other side also. And simultaneously, I will put my knife, the foramen magnum, to give a cut over the spinal cord. So this spinal cord is cut. Now with finger, I will just try to remove. No, still entering cerebellum is intact. We have to give a cut over the entering cerebellum on this side. With the finger, I am removing the cerebellum. Another tooth, that again entering cerebellum is still intact. It has to be cut. Now, with the finger, I am removing the cerebellum on this side. Now, cerebellum on both sides are in my hand. So, finally, so this is the brain, complete brain with both cerebellum, with pons, medulla, very soft. We'll put it in formalin to fix it. Then further, after fixation, we'll study it. Now here, we will open the abdomen and the chest cavity. So that incision is given over the pubic symphysis, sparing the umbilicus through the sternum knots. We deepen this incision. You can see the layer of the abdomen, superficial fatty layers. This is a fat layer. I am going to cut it. The rectus sheath. The rectus sheath, there are rectus muscles. I am going to cut down these structures. Will reach. See, this is the rectus sheath. This rectus sheath. Below this fat. See, if you cut this rectus sheath, you will see the muscles. Now these muscles are there. You see the muscles. We'll cut these muscles also. See, we are cutting the muscles also. And finally, we'll reach to peritoneum. We'll reach till peritoneum. I have reached till peritoneum here. Now I'm going to put my 2 fingers in the peritoneal cavity. So little smell will come. So peritoneum is open. So this peritoneum is cut. So you can see the intestines. Okay. Now I will remove the structures over the chest. So you can see these chest muscles, pectoralis, major, latissimus dorsi on the side. So just lengthen this incision from here for easy dissection. The same thing will go to the other side. So I've done for the other side. Again, we'll extend this incision from here for easy detection. Now, you can see the ribs post-to-gantlet. But just identify some landmark, clavicle, sternum, the sternoclavicular joint. I will just open this sternoclavicular joint from here. Joint seems to be a little ossified. It's not adult. What adult old age person? 82 years old. This side is left. Okay. Now I'm going to cut the postal cartilage. See, these are postal cartilage. I'm going to cut postal cartilage on this side. Now on this side, if postal cartilages are cut, now we remove the sternum plate. This is called sternum plate because it bears postal cartilage also. So we remove this sternopericardial structures. This attachment between the sternum and the pericardium. So this sternal along with postal cartilage, the sternal plate is removed. From chest cavity, you can see the lungs. Lungs are adherent. See the adhesions of the lungs. These are called adhesions of the lung. These are because of pleural inflammation, pleurisy. Even pleural fluid you can see. Pleural effusion is there in this case. Pleural effusion. We'll first open the pericardial cavity. This is pericardium. To open the pericardial cavity, we look for the heart. Fluid is there. One pericardial fluid is it's more than normal. Even the brain will see more fluid in this case. So there is some pathology is there. We'll study the pathology. Heart is enlarged. Heart is enlarged. This is the inferior vena cava. I'm going to open the inferior vena cava. But inferior vena cava, your blood will come and do set it. Let's look at blood clot. The postmortem clot. Which is inferior vena cava. So heart is large in size. So fat also. White fat is also there. Fibrotic fat. There is a mold amide. Most of the lung is adherent. That is an lung is adherent. I will try to remove liver first. Let's first remove the liver. Pull on the side also. Liver. Gallbladder will also be there. Kidneys. The intestine you can see is the greater of income. Okay. Greater momentum is attached to the greater curvature of the stomach. So the stomach seems empty, but we just open the stomach and see the interior of the stomach. It's not empty. There are some contents. Liquefied contents are there. You can see the stomach, internal mucosa. See kidneys. I'm just giving incision in the retroperitoneal area and trying to find out the kidneys. So these kidneys are there. So you can see the kidney, some cyst over the surface of the kidney. The multiple small cysts are also there on the surface. That's what I was doing. You can see the cyst. Even multiple small cysts are also there on the surface. Okay. So we'll move on the kidney on the other side. And look at the kidney on the other side. So this is the kidney other side. You can see it's the kidney on the other side. These small cysts are there in this surface also. Now, I'll just show you some anatomical structures. This is the small intestine with entry. You can even cut this with entry. We can just cut it. I can show you just keep on doing it on one side. You can see how long this small intestine with entry. This whole thing is just showing you this small intestine with entry. On this side, I will show you the cecum. This is large intestine. You can see this is the Continia coli on the surface. This longitudinal band of this is Continia coli. And you can see the postrations. The postrations are large intestines, which are not there in the small intestines. And below you can see these muscles, psoas muscles. The muscles are there, psoas muscles you can see. So we'll close it from here.
Okay, that's it. हो गया ना सर? नहीं नहीं कैमरा ये आपका सही है। आपने ये देखिए that's my review. Wait to start, remember, please select another video.
आता Alexa घेणार आहे का? इसके लिए फिनिशिंग